Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Commando cast. As always, I'm Andrew.
And I'm Mike, and today we're going to talk about how choke is the new meta, and it sucks. Hey guys, thanks for joining us. So today on the Commando Cast, we would like to talk about the state of the meta a little bit. And we don't always do that, but I think it's important to kind of get to it today.
And it is early meta.
It is very early meta, correct. So we're going to be talking a little bit about some of the local things that we're seeing, and then also what we're seeing on some videos, and that is the idea of a choke deck. So Andrew, why don't you tell us what your definition of a choke deck is?
Sure, really. Well, I mean, basically everything in the collectible card game world spawns from Magic, right? So a choke deck is something that inherently is designed to take away your ability to do things, and generally it does that by attacking your resources. Now, in Destiny, we have literally resources, is what they're called, our money, but we also have cards in hand, which is also a resource for us as well, right? So the ideal choke deck is like a mill deck that prevents your money and takes away your cards in hand. We haven't seen a pure mill deck that does that, thank God. Right. But yeah, so in Magic, the best thing to equate it to is the evil blue deck that most of the people who came to Star Wars Destiny from Magic ran away from because they hate it, right?
Right.
But luckily for us, as Star Wars Destiny has grown, we're starting to bring in some of those blue players from Magic. So yay for us! That's it. Anyway. But yeah, so a choke deck will attack your hand. It will attack your resources, and the idea of a choke player is that they want to make you sit there and do nothing and bask in their amazingness. Like that's their goal. Right. Okay.
So I'm a Reformed Magic player, and I know Magic has a 60 card deck, right? And then you have 4 copies of each card in your deck, and then your resources in Magic are the cards, and then your mana that you play. You may only play a single mana per round, unless you have special card effects to do so, right? So how does that resource management system line up with Destiny? And the reason I ask you that is why does it feel so much worse when I'm choked out in Destiny than it does when I'm choked out in Magic or another CCG game, if you want to compare that?
Well, I mean, so to use a Magic term to bounce back to what we were talking about, right? In Magic, you only draw 1 card per turn. So what it does is it forces you to be very resource efficient on what you're playing. And you have to be very efficient on how you use your cards, right? So what the blue player will try to do in Magic is, let's say you spend your 3 manas, your 3 lands, to bring in a 3-drop, and they spend a 1 cost to either counterspell that,
keep me from playing it.
Correct, which will prevent it from being played, and bounce is actually, bounce or snap is a term used that implies returning a creature back to hand.
Which means my resources are gone, and the card is
right, and then the card is out of play. Right.
And I can't use that card for a reroll or anything like I can in Destiny if that were
correct. So then what they will do at the same time, so you'll spend your 3 money, you'll be out of money for not only your turn but for their turn, and then you'll be out of resources for their turn and then your turn, and then they can do something and then hold back a little bit and try and repeat, and eventually what they will do is get to a point where you can't do anything because anything you play gets bounced or anything you play immediately gets killed or something like that, and you basically just have to sit there and pass until they win or reach across the field.
So a blue player in Magic has to reserve some of their mana expenditure for your turn, so they can't do anything they want on their turn.
Exactly.
Because they have to save it.
And I think that's where you're going with this is, yes, they have to at least commit. Now, obviously, I mean, in Destiny, right, if you could spend 1 money to make your opponent, money and card from hand to make your opponent lose 2 resources is actually a fair trade, right? But let's say there's a 0 cost card you could play that would make your opponent lose 2 resources. I don't think anybody would disagree with the fact that that's above curve.
Just an auto play, 0.
So 0 cost, card from hand, and then let's give it ambush just because.
Why not, right? Okay.
0 cost from hand, lose 2 resources. We would all agree that that's probably above curve, if not
I would say
broken. Right. Now, the fact that you'd only have 2 of those in your deck and it costs you a card, maybe not, right? But then that brings us to primarily what Mike's talking about, or at least driving towards, which is the droids, right? So we've talked multiple times on here before about the C3PO R2D2 combo. The particular graphic, which I'll go ahead and put it up again, we've shown before, actually uses the military camp, which is no longer valid.
Right.
However, it still goes to illustrate how you can roll in 3PO and R2 at the same time or in any order and then take away your opponent's resources. So most of these droid decks they're doing now is they're using one of the 6 potential action sheets in your deck, 3 cards times 2, right? Instigate, droids day out, and seize the day.
Yeah, and there's that weird red card that lets you just activate two characters. It's got the clone troopers on it, and it has 3 options.
Oh, right.
Remove a leader.
Right.
Like I know that's
I forgot
another,
about that. So it's actually 8 options then. I forgot about that one.
Which is weird but cool.
Yeah, but so what they can do is they can roll out and they can get dice in the pool. It costs them nothing except for the action sheet card. So it does cost them a card from hand, I suppose, potentially a resource depending on the card, and they can immediately roll out and prevent you from growing that turn. Now it doesn't take your dice away. It doesn't prevent you from activating your characters. It doesn't even let them roll in and hit you, but what it's done is it's taken away your option to do much that turn. Right. Is that pretty accurate?
Yeah, because they can take your money if they want to. And what makes that particular combination so deadly with the droids is that when R2-D2 spots C-3PO, he can choose what side to flip a die to.
So it's utility, toolbox, choke,
correct.
Whatever.
So I think one of the reasons why it's so good is if I don't care about my opponent's resources that round, I can do money and damage. Like that's, or I can do damage twice if I need to kill someone. Or I mean, when we're talking about with Faithful Companions and C-3PO. Right. So,
which is about the best 2 points you can spend in this game. Right?
Yeah, no, very
Faithful Companion plot.
Very good. One of the reasons I was thinking about on the drive over here about how choke works in other games. Choke inherently works in other games because you're giving up something to keep your opponent from doing something, and you're hoping that the curve eventually slows your opponent down enough to where that your ramp is higher than your opponent's, and then you win on a big turn. In Magic, maybe it's round 4 or 5. You've been able to ramp, and then you have more creatures, flying blue creatures, than they do, and you just kill them, right? Because they have been able to ramp out. So
so choke typically in many other games will go hand in hand with stall. Right. So what you're trying to do is turtle up, stall, whatever, until turtle's actually bad. Blue hero is like the best turtle.
Right.
Actually, right example. So actually, let's back that up. But what they're trying to do, exactly like Mike said, is in my counterspell example, right? They're trying to spend 1 for a counterspell or 1 for a snap to make you spend your 3 resources. Right. In some cases, twice.
And I will say something.
So you spend 1 to cost 3, and that's a great trade.
The great players in not only this game but other games are breaking these cards down and plays down in the terms of absolute value versus what you're getting versus what you're spending versus what you're getting.
Absolutely.
And I think that's one of the big, and that's a whole other episode I could talk about, is teaching new players like some of the deeper strategies.
Well, and go check out the value episode.
Yeah, right. That's absolutely. And I would say that just studying that with you, and it has made me an overall better player. In that, and I mean that in ways that when I discard to reroll, like what is this card worth to me, and what am I going to gain out of that die, or 2 or 3 that I'm gonna reroll. So. I think what I'm trying to get to ultimately in this discussion is there are a couple choke decks that are arising in this game. And a choke deck could be one that chokes your money. It also could be one that chokes your cards, or it could be one that chokes your dice, right? So there's some cards there's some decks in this game due to some of the cards being built that where in Magic the blue player has to hold something back to affect your board state. In our game, there's some decks coming out now where the actual choke is furthering their overall win condition. And the deck that comes to my mind is DJ.
DJ Towson.
Right.
Correct.
In DJ,
it doesn't have to be Towson, but DJ Order 6/6.
DJ's kind of always been like that, right? Where his ability to stall you is his win condition because he delivers damage, right, in doing so. And I think that's one of the unfun parts of the game sometimes is if you can keep me from doing what I'm doing, and that is actually doing what you want to do.
Right.
We might have a game problem at that point. And I mean, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I mean, I know there are people who like denial, or I should say control is what it's called, right? People like control, and I personally think that control is different than choke.
Okay.
Right? but maybe they go hand in hand. So I don't really want to get debating that.
Yeah,
it's not time for that. Yeah. But yeah, so you brought up the DJ Tales in Order 6-6 is one that we saw on the channel this week, but there are others out there. I mean, even so, another one Mike and I want to talk about today is the Ewoks, right? The Ewoks are, I mean, I openly admit, like, when the Ewoks came out, I said they were bad, and I still think they're bad mono yellow, but this is why Andrew's not good at breaking games. I never in my wildest dreams considered crossing the Ewoks with red. Right? The Hoth Trooper version or the Gungan version, I really like the Hoth Trooper version.
Yeah, me too.
The ability to throw red in, and then all of a sudden the Ewoks do everything that the battle droids used to do.
Right.
But way better.
Yes, I agree.
But way better.
Yeah, and it's funny when you splash Hoth Trooper. Normally, if you're like, oh, I'm gonna not use I'm gonna use a Gungan, right, instead of a. The reason I like the Hoth Trooper better than the Gungan is the Gungan has a higher damage potential because he has the 2 indirect, I think. But the Hoth Trooper works. He doesn't have to the Gungan has to activate, roll something good, and resolve it. Right. The Hoth Trooper just goes. You haven't rolled out yet. Damage. Right. Which I think is really, really wacky and cool.
It's really good with. So you can then play if you play the Hoth Trooper version, you play target acquired because. Your first action, and this is regardless of a deployment or regardless of a squad tactics, you just roll them in, you put the damage where you want, and then all of your Ewoks become directed damage.
Right.
And that's pretty strong. Right.
So, it puts the game. Well, the game's on a timer anyway, but normally, if in an indirect deck, you can spread it out so that you don't lose your effectiveness as quickly. That all of a sudden takes that right off the table.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So I actually think a lot of people want like a strength in numbers first turn, which. Pretty good. I think that the target acquired first turns with that deck's probably the best card you can pull. And even if they do get rid of it,
that's a free one, right? It's a 0 cost. Like they just have to be damaged.
Yeah, they have to have damage on. That's why I say the Hoth Trooper rolls in, you put the damage on. I mean, yeah, maybe if they have shields and you change targets, but then you still the right play, or maybe they have 2 shields and they play it smart, whatever. Right. But I mean, still. You get what we're throwing down, right?
Yeah.
So, and the reason the Ewoks came up is not like the Ewoks are impressing me with how much better they did than I thought. I still don't think Ewoks are tier 1 because Vader's still a thing, and Fear and Dead Men and piles of fur. And anyway,
piles of fur.
The Ewoks are also, especially we saw Steve. Steve was playing a double down version of. This was on the T3 channel. He was on video, right? He's playing a double down version where he's playing 3 copies of Convergence.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Right. So Convergence is a 2-cost card. I'll show it up here, of course, but 2-cost card where you spot any number of characters to discard a support equal to that value.
Or upgrade.
Or support or upgrade.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So what he'll do is you drop a 2 or 3 cost upgrade, and he's like, denial. Right. So the Ewoks have choke, right? So it fits into this discussion. And the effective Ewok decks we've seen, I think, can choke you in some fashion.
Yeah.
Right. So, who knew?
And,
little fur balls everywhere.
We had a player on Monday night bring a what I consider a control-y version of Ewoks, where at one point in the game we're playing, and I'm like, how much removal is in that? And he basically was like, it's pretty much all
22 cards.
Yeah, except for he had 2 dice cards and the money making cards, and then like glider attack and like this stuff to do extra damage. But it was
and this was a mono yellow.
Yeah, a mono yellow version, and it was pretty good. Like he took me to the dumpster and put me in it. And I was running. I mean, granted, I wasn't running probably the best matchup against it, but I mean,
Jango Snoke.
Yeah, Jango Snoke deck, which. It's not a bad deck, but he controlled my Jango dice every time. So Jango rolls out, I would get a 1 and a 2 or any damage and not damage, and he would just remove the best damage that I had with a card.
Well, I mean, Entangle's always on.
Yep.
Right,
yep.
Which is a great card in there. I mean, we won't go through the full list.
I prayed the whole game I wasn't going to roll doubles, so I would get easy picked, and then at the end, I'm like, he's like, you want to look at my deck? And I'm like, yes,
absolutely.
I do. And I'm like looking through, I'm like, where's your easy pickings? And he's like, is it another deck? I'm like, oh my gosh. Holy smokes!
Fair enough.
Yeah, and he did pretty well.
He did pretty well. He was so he's actually one game will be up by the time this airs, not the other one. But he was on twice this week on camera, round 1 and round 3. So he played my Maul deck, and when we're going to come back to Maul later, but he played my Maul deck in round 1 and had me to 1 health. It was 1 health left.
Yeah.
And the only reason Maul was doing so well is just because there was so many targets to continue to spread out. Right. But
yeah, it's just like you're like threshing wheat with your Maul.
Right. Yeah. So, but yeah, the Ewoks are tough, and again, it's that choke that. And if you play a 2-cost upgrade because you're like, it's just Ewoks, I can't block any dice, I'm just going to play my upgrades, and then they're like,
right. And
JK.
When we're talking about value, like when a deck runs no dice cards, right? Except for I think he had 2 gang ups. That was the only dice card he was running. When
one feels bad, I think.
It was he did 5 indirect to me at a time I didn't want him to, and I so
fair enough.
So he did. When you're spending all of your money on denial because you don't care, like that, I think the fact that conversions cost 2 can feel kind of bad, right? So if we do value, it's a card and 2 resources, right, to get rid of something.
Let's assume a card and 2 resources. Let's just say it's a first turn drop. You drop a 2-drop,
right?
But they could get rid of a 5-drop.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no. Yeah, I mean even basic value of a 2-drop. Normally, if you played it, spent a card and 2 resources, it might feel bad. Like that might not be a good value for you at that point because you want to save it for a 3 or 4 or 5-drop. But when a deck doesn't care about money, like when it
and that's the thing is like there's no pay sides on the Ewoks, right?
Ooh, yeah, it's pretty good.
Right,
some good analysis.
I mean, it does feel good, and then I don't know, it's just pretty taking away your opponent's options.
Yeah. I don't know. It's you keep saying it's early in the meta, and I keep trying to remind myself that is the case.
No, well, we've talked about that before. It's not early in the meta. Like Gen Con is, I think, 7. It's 8 days from when this video will be.
Okay, that makes sense, right? Yeah.
So people have been grinding and talking about how they've been people have been posting articles on how they've been grinding for Gen Con for months. Right.
So would you say that we've basically got 3 months worth of gameplay like condensed into a month just because of the competitives?
I mean, probably not with the full set, but with the fundamentals of the set, yeah.
Okay.
Right.
That's interesting.
But no, not with a full set. Like I think Ewoks surprised more people than just me. Right.
Sure. I think Ewoks is super fun. And
it's super good.
At first I thought it was the first time I played them I was like, oh my gosh, this is so unbalanced. Like I can't believe it. But Ewoks have such a natural I've played that deck so many I've probably played it 12 times now, like in my testing over the last couple of weeks. And that deck, the balance mechanism in that deck is as you kill them, they get less effective, right? That's just kind of the. So it feels super bad at the beginning of the game when you took 6 to 9 damage because they played a glider attack and rolled out and you didn't kill anybody, right? That always feels like super bad, but that 6 to 9 damage turn 1 turns into 5 to 8. Or hopefully less if you're killing something to less and to less and to less, and that is the natural balancing mechanic of that deck, and I think it's very interesting. I don't know if it feels fair.
No, I don't think the Ewoks are broken. Yeah. I still stand by my statement that they're not tier 1, and it's for that reason because if you can only kill 1 Ewok, or if somehow you have to spread your damage around and you can't kill any, you're probably going to lose the game. And I'm talking first round.
Correct.
You're probably going to lose.
Yes. There's a schedule of killing
If
Ewoks.
you can kill 2 Ewoks round 1, you're probably going to win.
You're probably going to win, yes. I agree. I've never lost the game to Ewoks where I was able to down 2 in the first round.
Right. And there's some tricky stuff they can do, like letting you start pounding into somebody and then drop a diplomatic protection, and then you have to change targets because it's not worth 10 damage to change. Changing targets is generally like Destiny 101, like no.
Right.
But it's not worth 10 damage. Like you don't change.
And that was one of the errors that I made when I played the Ewok deck on Monday, and I think it was just because I didn't really have any. I knew I was going to lose the game at that point anyway, but I had beat on an Ewok, and he played diplomatic protection.
What does beating on an Ewok mean? Doing 3 damage?
I did 3 damage. He's like diplomatic protection. I'm like, because I hadn't been able to resolve a damage dice in like 4 years. So, and it was the absolute wrong call. Like the mic, the next morning woke up in a cold sweat and was like, oh, I should have done that. Like I got it. Like I understood, but it is super good. And man, learn how to play. It's one of those decks you have to learn how to play against. Absolutely. It. You can't just cowboy your way through it. You can't just do what your deck does and expect to beat Ewoks. I don't think, unless you're Darth Vader.
Well, so my match was kind of unfair in that I had the Executioner, and the Executioner was
natural.
Nom. Right, but I was trying to set the Executioner up for that too. So, but yeah, I mean,
so Maul hits him, and the Executioner knocks him down, and then rolls his die back in.
Right. Well, I mean, there were some, and this was where I actually got into problems with his deck. Was I was making some somewhat inefficient plays trying to set the Executioner up, and then, he'd remove a Maul die, and I'm like,
sad face. Were you playing Lightsaber Mastery?
No, I refuse to play Order 66.
I don't know.
I just refuse to play it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, should we turn this into an Order 66 podcast?
No, not really. We got in a fight yesterday on Facebook with a viewer, and I don't really feel like getting into it.
Okay.
I suggest he goes back and plays blue. That's just what I suggest. So.
Yeah, it was. Anyway, so we'll skip Order 66 for right now. But I would like to talk. I want to finish up on the choke discussion.
Yep.
At the beginning of the cast, I said, and I was kind of joking. It kind of wasn't joking, but I did say it sucks.
It does. I know I'm interrupting. And I apologize.
No. Go ahead. You know what I'm going to say.
Actually, maybe. Oh, I don't exactly, but I do think it sucks. Like, I'm okay saying that choke sucks because I honestly believe that what started off the game of Destiny and what built the good community that we have are people who went away from games like that because they didn't enjoy dealing with the people who enjoy playing choke decks. And here we are, and now we're getting in Facebook fights with people who are saying you shouldn't hate on choke decks because they're amazing. That's our community now. So, it's not the bulk of the community.
No, I know.
But those people also tend to be the more vocal people in the community.
And we've talked about this before, especially when we're introducing newer players to the game who get their teeth kicked in, right, for several months, and it's a really hard time to be a player in a competitive setting when you're learning the game. Your condition of victory is very important.
Condition of success.
Yeah, condition of success. That's it. Yeah, because it may not be victory, right? Your condition of success is one of those things that I think is very important, and I would also equate that in this case to your condition of enjoyment. Like what? Like
they're one and the same to me.
When I play with you, when we play, you and I can play 4 games, and I can dumpster you for 4 games,
right, which happened last
and
week.
You can record them and put them on and go check them out because I'm really good in those games. But
except when we miss a
right, except for that one. But you and I can play those games, and we can have a good time, and neither one of us walk away salty or unhappy. In fact, I think that we're actually better players, having fun and joking around. I feel better as a player when we're done with those games, right? So those are successful for me. I think what we might be running into here is some conditions of enjoyment / success that are running contrary to one another. And is that always going to be a problem in any game ever, just because the nature of the game is one that is competitive? And if someone's condition of success is victory at any cost, right? Does that mean that the game will always, like, whatever game you and I move on to next after Destiny, right? Because Destiny's not going to go on forever.
Argent Saga.
Right? So if we're into that game, are we going to run into that same problem? And then the game after that, and then we're in our 50s, and the game after that, like, what's the?
I mean, probably to some extent. Like, your point's 100% valid. Like, yes, probably to some extent. But then, I mean, so yeah, let's go ahead and go into the Order 66 discussion just a little bit, because that feeds into what we're talking about, right? So there's a game up. It went up Tuesday of this week, where it was DJ Towson Order 66 versus Symbio's Jedi, and not that was relevant actually in this because they were already Jedi, but with the plot, I mean, but. It was brutal, and the question I have for those out there is, do you think either player in that game enjoyed that game? And if the answer is if the answer for you is yes, if I was the person winning, I would have enjoyed that game, then you are contrary to what we are saying from a happiness and enjoyment standpoint.
Probably really contrary to our overall mentality and mission statement of even doing this.
Right.
I mean, that's I think like at the core of my problem with this.
Right. And that
it is
exactly. That's what I'm saying is if you like I've been in games where I've just been beating the snot out of somebody and like I felt bad.
Right. Yes.
And in the final that went up the day we're shooting this on Wednesday, the final of that tournament, Alex was beating the snot out of that same player, and he went on record in the comments of that video saying, the reason I was moving so fast and making mistakes was because I wanted the game to get over as soon as fast as possible because I was beating the snot out of the guy and I felt bad. He's actually there saying that. Right? He put that up today. So, I say that to say if you are the type of person who's sitting there, like I say, I've tried to accelerate through games because you feel bad when your opponent is having a bad game. Right. And if you're not feeling the emotion of your, like, you like winning close games.
Sure, absolutely. I love
losing close games.
I do. Yes, right?
Not as much. But you don't love, like, nobody likes losing, but like if you lose a close game, you're like, oh man, that was really good.
We talk about it afterwards.
That was great.
Right. Yes,
right. Absolutely. If you sit there and decimate your opponent, there are people out there who do get enjoyment from that.
Right. Steve and I played a game just like that, where I thought I had him, and he played Han's Blaster on Han, and rolled me off the table with that. And I lost that a super close game. I had him to 3 life, and I had all the dice in play to do it, and he beat me. And it was one of those games where, like, I'm not even mad. Like, that was fantastic. Like, I probably should have saw it coming, but it was great. It was fantastic, and I love losing games like that.
And that's a good thing, right? Like, everybody had a good time. Right. It was what it is, right? And I guess that's what I'm saying is, if you're the type of person who's not in that method, my point. Let me back up. Sorry. When we first started this game, or at least with our community, we didn't have to deal with people like that. And now I do feel like we have a community that there are some people who are getting enjoyment from having their opponent have to sit there and sit on their hands. And I don't know that. And my point is with Order 66 in this discussion, I think Order 66 promotes that.
Yeah. That's my biggest problem with Order 66 is it is so oppressive, and it has I think a tiny cost. Like two build points for that is nothing for 4 extra so it's good against mill too. Like that's like I have the biggest problem with Order 66 as a concept. Like why did we think that was even a good idea? Like what point?
I want to be very clear. Neither Mike nor I are saying that Order 66 is broken.
No.
We're not saying that it's the new meta. We're not saying it's overly powerful. We are saying it is a huge negative play experience. Yeah. And it bothers me inherently because Jeremy has gone on record. I don't remember where. I'm not even going to bother to go find like the thing and put it on the video. But he's gone on record saying that I don't just design this game for the competitiveness.
Right.
But then at the same time, Jeremy produces a card like Order 66, which is clearly meant not to be competitive, but be a negative play experience. And that doesn't make sense to me.
And I think there's ways you can design the same concept with the same thematic, because I like how thematic it is.
Like, Execute Order 66 is really cool.
Right.
I like the concept of something enabling Execute Order 66.
Right. X66. It just feels, because it is so inherent, like it's so devastating to your opponent.
Yes.
It just like, I guess if it just took their dice, that would be one thing. But even then, it feels bad. I don't even know. I don't even know how you make that better. But I think there's ways to do it without. And I don't get paid for limited design cards, so I'm not trying to tell them what to do. But I just feel like there's probably better ways to go about that.
Well, think about it, right? So for two money and a card from hand, you're removing 2 dice.
Right.
And yes, again, and this is why we're saying it's not competitive. It goes down to 3 wides. It goes down to supports, right?
Right.
But if you're playing a 2 wide, they're rolling in 2 dice per character, which are immediately getting removed, and then they're taking 2 damage.
Right.
You are playing, and so we've established value of the average die removal is 1. Right, cost to remove a die is 1.
Sure.
Which is card from hand. So 2 resources, card from hand for 2 removals and 2 damage.
Right. And I will say
so
this.
the card's above curve.
most removal cards too. They have it's a resource and a card and a condition, right? There's no spend one. In fact, there is a card that's just remove any die out of hand, but it costs 2, right? So removal card generally is a 3, right? Is equivalent to 3 value to remove 1 die.
Well,
card, resource, condition, or 2 resources and a card to remove 1 die.
It depends. Like, look at isolation is only 1.
But
it's
I have to
1
spot.
card from hand in condition, but it's any.
Right. But it's a character die, but I have to spot a blue character.
So it's actually isolation's dual condition because it's spot a blue character die.
Right.
So, but there's unconditioned. But generally it's one for a die removal.
Right.
What something costs a die removal, and then there's going to be another cost associated with that. So yes.
Yeah, it feels way above curve. I think the 2 costs makes it feel worse because in general you're only going to get to play one of them per round unless you're making money elsewhere or you saved money from elsewhere. It feels. I don't like any card that cuts off an entire play strategy from our game, which is too wide.
Right. I mean, so the counter argument to why Order 66 isn't broken is that, okay, well, let's say I roll in, we'll use the symbiote example. Let's say I roll in Ayla. Okay, now if my Ayla die get removed, I still have Yoda. The part where it wasn't thought about or hasn't been considered in that argument, I'm not saying in design, in that argument is, let's say Ayla rolls in 2 blanks or rolls in a disrupt or something she can't. Actually, disrupt would be fine in this case.
Right, yes, I wouldn't mind rolling the disrupt.
Let's say she rolls in something that she can't use.
Okay.
Right? You now have to roll in your other character, which means you now have the 4 die on the table.
Or reroll 2 crappy, like make a terrible reroll.
2, right? And it's whatever. I don't want to harp on this too much because I'm actually very passionate about the Order 66 thing being. Right.
So
it just needs to be banned.
I think in casual play, and I mean casual play, I mean like on our Saturdays
it's
and Mondays.
Fine in tournaments. If you want to take it to tournament, I'm fine with that.
You want to take it to a regional
that's
or
what I mean.
A prime
that's
or
what
higher.
I mean, right?
But if you bring that to a Monday or a Saturday, and I sit down across from you and I'm playing 2 wide, I'm probably going to scoop to you and just not play.
And that's something that we don't really see in Destiny. Like even in Destiny, more often than not, people will play to completion.
Right. And I don't mean to say that to be a D-bag or anything. I'm just saying, like, if you're going to bring that, and I don't have a even 25% chance of victory in that case, why would I subject myself to the mental wear and tear, which I'm going to have? Like, I'm like, it's just going to happen. Like, I can be unless I take a Xanax before the game, like, I'm going to be stressed, right? So I think the play here is just like, if you sit down with me on a Saturday or Monday with that deck and I'm running 2 wide, I'm not beating it. I'm not going to make you feel bad. I'm just going to say, you know what? It's all good. I think you got this one. And then maybe we can play different decks. That, like, I'll bring my other deck, you bring the other deck, or I'll bring my 3 wide. You still win, but I'll play my 3 wide. You know, and I think that gives me value still, that I don't have to deal with that cutting off of my knees. But I still get to play a game. And hopefully I have a relationship with the person I'm sitting across where if they're like, dude, why are you doing that? I'd be like, because I don't want to, first off, I don't want to feel bad. I don't want you to feel bad for making me feel bad.
Right.
And I want to play some actual Destiny.
Right.
Right. From a positive standpoint, I'm saying that. And
I understand.
Yeah, don't roast me for saying I'm going to take my ball and go home, because that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying my emotional wear and tear and the person I'm playing with is worth more to me than trying to get a 15% win rate against an Order 66 deck with my Raylo deck.
I think that's fair, right? I mean, we see that a lot in other games where, again, we have less friendly communities, but we see it a lot in other games where they may not scoop immediately, but like if things don't go right within the first 2 turns, they'll just scoop.
Yeah, well, Magic's like that all the time.
Yeah,
like you flood.
I'm referring to.
Right? Yeah, you flood. You're at like 5 mana in your first hand, and it doesn't. I mean, you're like, I'm good because I've got 8 rounds to play, and if I use all my mental energy, acumen. Sorry, if I use all my mental energy on this one game that I can't win, I'm actually doing myself a disservice in playing a long tournament. On a Saturday, I just want to be your friend when we're done.
Right.
So anyway, I think we've probably belabored the point.
Oh, but beyond.
Sorry.
So
we got it out though, and you won't have to hear about it next week.
Let me counter that. Not counter it. Let me add on to that.
Okay.
Why not do the same versus droids? Because droids is basically an auto lose.
Because I feel like I can beat droids.
Because you want to? Is it because you just want to try to get droids?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So you get even if you lose to droids, you get enjoyment because you gave it the old college try.
Correct. But I will say this: in the last 2 weeks, I have not played against a droid choky deck. I've played against a lot of droid aggro decks that were just like
but droid choky decks are the meta. It's just that.
Yeah. So is that the case? Okay. And if I'm going to a prime or better,
like,
or
are you telling me? Are you telling me that if you're at a regional or Gen Con or whatever, you're telling me you have the option between flipping R2 to a 2 disrupt effective,
right?
Effective 2 disrupt or hit for 3. You're absolutely going to disrupt,
right. Unless I can kill somebody. Right.
Well, yes.
Correct. And I can do it twice. Like if I have faithful companions, I can take your money and kill someone.
But you have to roll. You have to resolve one die. Yeah, you have to roll one of them.
One of them, right, has to hit the side I want, and then I can
flip
the other one and do them.
And if you're playing Elite R2, which generally it's only single die R2, is what we're seeing in most of these, right? But I mean, not the Anakin version, right? But
so if we're having a prime next week, though, I'm bringing a droid deck. You better believe it.
Of course.
And I'll choke everyone out I play. Like we'll have a choke off. Like I mean, you're going to see fine in that setting.
So I have no idea because I don't even want to take a guess like what the Gen Con field's going to look like. Like all in all, from a pure register standpoint, like I have no idea, right? But like once you get to top cut and stuff like that, it's going to be 50%, if not more droids.
So currently it's 140 registered. I think is what the numbers look like.
Okay. 70 of those are going to be people in the know. 50% will be people in the know.
Okay.
And then you're going to have probably half of those trying to not play meta because they won't want to play meta.
You think half the people won't want to play meta?
Half. Well, I don't know. But you're going to have some portion of the top people who are going to refuse to play meta.
And we've been in that position before. We're like, I'm not playing that.
Right.
And then how'd that work out for us?
Yeah.
We got her.
Yeah.
Hand it to us.
Which is why I sucked, like, before the Portland Regional, that's why I sucked it up and went Snoke Trader, Sienna, right?
But I think you're right, though. I think of 140 people, I think that cuts to top 32, if I recall. I've actually heard they're doing something weird. They're doing all X and 2s for the cut. Not
X and 2s?
X and 2, yeah. So they could have a weird, like, 34... where there's people having to
that's fine,
like buy and play out,
anyway,
which is cool.
I think of the top cut, you're going to see over 50% droids. Right. I think you're going to see a good percentage Vader, and
I will.
You're going to see some spicy stuff in there.
I'm gonna piggyback on what you're saying. So I agree with you. I think a good 50% of the top of the cut will be some variation of a droid deck.
Right.
I will say,
and by droids, to be clear, we don't mean they have a droid in their deck. By droids, we mean R2 and 3PO and Faithful Companions.
Right. I've seen other ones that are running AR and stuff, and that's fine. Right. Those two characters together.
The Han version, the K2SO version is actually not horrible.
I think it's really good too.
Like,
I will say a further 25% of that top cut will be running villain like support Afra or Jabba Watt. Sentinel Messenger?
Jabba Watt Messenger.
Yeah. So, like, I think a full 70% we're going to see is it going to be a 3-wide support. I'm going to try to make as much money as possible. Mm-hmm. If you've seen the video of Gun Guy, the final round where Alex is able to drop an obscene amount of resources worth of supports. If you haven't seen it, check it out. If you haven't seen, the guys from Entourage did the Alabama Slamma.
Yeah, and great coverage, by the way. Shout out to Matthew Rice and company.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a couple decks in there where they're just slapping down. Jonathan Magnuson did the same thing in the Minnesota Meta's Dead year, like their second annual Meta's Dead tournament, or the Game's Dead tournament. I think it's a great name, right?
Meta's Dead?
Yeah, the game is dead.
Can the meta be dead?
Well, it feels a little dead right now. But I watched him in this game. He plays a Falcon, and he plays an Entourage round 1, and then goes
4-drop Falcon?
6-drop Falcon. Starts round 2 with 8 resources after playing those.
Yeah.
Right. So
this game's in a great spot.
Right. So I think in that top set, you're going to see this huge variation. You're going to see a very small variation of support, make a bunch of money decks, and then you're going to see a smattering. A couple Vaders got through, maybe a couple Ewoks got through.
I don't know about any Ewoks because they're going to have to go through so many rounds. But I mean, maybe. I shouldn't say any because like that's a pretty.
But if it's
a pretty bold statement.
If it's an X2, right? If that's the condition for making the cut, it's X2. That means I can take an auto loss in 2 games of an 8-round turn.
Okay, that's okay. Then you're gonna see more. Then you're gonna see Ewoks.
Right, because Ewoks definitely auto lose.
I will make a bold statement: 0 mil.
Man, all the people are saying that. Like the same thing. I was on ABG today, and they're like, "Mill's dead, Mill's dead," and I'm like, "Man, I thought Mill was strong like 3 weeks ago. Like what? Like did just droids just kill Mill? Like they
No, Ewoks kill Mill.
But not everyone. Okay, so let's say this. Let's say Mill has a 65% win rate against the field, except for 0% against the Ewoks. Right? They never win against.
So
the Ewoks.
what Mill deck do you think is? Because I think Jin Cassian's probably the best positioned Mill deck right now.
Oh, I don't.
Absolutely, because if
I'm
they
not
run
saying
against
no.
Ewoks, they blow down some Ewoks.
I'm saying I don't know enough to probably comment on that. I mean, I know Yoda and Leia got some new toys, like some new stuff to play with. So which people haven't really been. But Yoda. What if he takes shields, and what if they play Bubble Shield and like
They should be anyway, but
well, I don't know if they. I've seen a lot that aren't playing Bubble Shield.
No, because that always struggled to Afra anyway, so you should be playing Bubble Shield. But
right. The variation of the deck that I think is very interesting is Leia Elite, and then 1-die blue Ezra and 1-die Anakin. And that's a very cool.
So I can't speak. I haven't seen.
Yeah, I've actually played that one. It is real good because all 3 characters have like some sort of weird threat they have. So anyway, I guess Mill's dead. I just got the memo today from the guys at ABG and from Andrew. So I did not know that. Yeah, I did not know that that Mill was dead. But
I mean, you play a lot more than I do because you play on TTS. So
right, I played against a droid Mill deck the other day.
So does Chopper have a discard side?
No, it was Anakin. It was Anakin droids, and I thought I was gonna get because they set it down. And I'm like, oh god, right? I thought it was gonna be the one that we have seen, and then of course I would like to say the guy scooped in like 6 minutes because I desperate measured his Anakin pod racer and then hit him for I was playing Maul Watto.
Oh,
so I like Fook, and I did like 6 damage to 2 guys, and then he's like, I think we're good. And I'm like, all right, sounds good. We'll play again. He disconnected. I'm like, all right.
All right. So let's put a pin in that.
Sure.
We're going way.
Oh my gosh! Yeah. Well, I've still got some beer left. So.
Well, I mean that's
right.
That's really what matters. So, all right. So you wanted to talk about Maul.
We did. That was a good segue, right? I just talked about Maul.
That's why I was like, oh
yes. So, let's talk about Maul and. Why does Maul suck? Or why is Maul underrated? Andrew, go.
The answer is both. No, it is.
Can you suck both. And both be underrated? Like, how is that possible?
No. So I won the Monday Night Dice tournament going 3-1, by the way.
Right.
Because it was a 4-way tie for 3-1, I think.
Right.
But I didn't lose till the last round, so my strength schedule was high. But I won with Maul Executioner Lightsaber Mastery.
Right.
You guys had seen multiple videos before of me playtesting Maul, Veteran Stormtrooper, and Retribution, but I wanted to try something different. I was also thinking I would see some Ewoks, right. I wanted to run the Executioner. I think Maul's good. I also just want to play him because I really like the character, and I just thought he looked cool.
And we got that really cool card from Brenton, so it's hard not to play
exactly,
Maul,
right? So yeah, when Brenton gave me the card, I was like, well, I've got my alt-art Maul. That looks amazing. Yeah. Why is he good? Like, his ability to turn 2 damage into 4 damage is pretty good, just naturally.
Right.
Maul does struggle in-game, though, because all of a sudden you have to start focusing, but hopefully you can get some stuff to stack. I mean, his 4 damage sides is really what... It just boils down to he has 4 damage sides, so you can play a bunch of crazy stuff, because modifiers are generally valued a little higher because you have to pair something with them. Someone had so I don't own a Fifth Brother's lightsaber, but someone had pointed out I'd been playing Vader's lightsaber instead and paying the 1 resource to roll back in.
Sure.
Someone today pointed out, well, if you run Fifth Brother's lightsaber, it does the damage. And I'm like,
what's that one do? Like, what?
No, well, yeah. So it's Fifth Brother's lightsaber is all modifiers, and when it's on Fifth Brother, you can resolve it if it doesn't have a modifier.
Okay, that's the one we never played because it was 4 costs with no.
No, it's 3 cost. It's 3 cost, but it's actually a pretty good little lightsaber, but it just
does it have a weird special or something?
I don't even know. I can't. I'm sorry.
But you like it for the Maul's power?
No, when you modify or when you resolve Fifth Brother's lightsaber, you deal a damage.
Oh, it just does the damage.
It does a damage.
Oh, okay.
So I mean, it better because I hope that's what it does because. So again, sorry, it's just not a card that gets played a lot. But yeah, so when you resolve it, it does damage.
Whereas Vader's only does that if it's on Vader.
It doesn't does the damage, but you can still pay the resource to roll a die in. It's just that it has to be on Vader to do the damage when you do that.
Okay. Why not both? Why not?
Well, you could play both, except if I had a second Maul's lightsaber, I'd actually run 2 Maul's lightsabers.
Okay.
But which of course is pay a resource to roll back in if somebody has shields.
Which they're not because you knocked them all off.
Well, if they're playing a 2-white. Actually, in the Ewoks game, he put the 2 shields on Chirpa.
Right.
Those sat there all game.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah. Chirpa's the last guy. Of course, when I played him, he put the gang up on Chirpa early on, and it was pretty tough. Like, it was like...
Because you still have to kill Ewoks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
And you know what? Chirpa's special is...
3 indirect is no joke, bro.
Yeah.
And he was rolling elite Chirpa, which nobody does.
Well, because it works with double down, so it's fine.
Right.
I still think Chirpa's awful. But you have to play an Ewok. You have to play an elite or non-unique Ewok. So
cool.
It's fine.
So I would like to talk about Maul a little bit more and why I like the addition of Executioner. So one of Maul's inherent weaknesses is his damage output, although very amazing at the beginning of the game, splashy, right? Mm-hmm. Like it's right.
So what does Maul do?
So Maul
power action.
Power action allows you to reroll one of your character upgrade dice, and if it lands on melee damage, you may remove that die to do any damage, that much damage to 2 characters. You then can discard a card to try it again,
if it doesn't hit,
which I have to do every time, by the way. But thank God that's there. So the dream, right, is to roll in the Maul's lightsaber and hit the 4,
right,
the +4, right. I mean that's the dream. So there's an inherent cap to the damage he can do. Right, which is let's say he hits the 3, which is more than likely, right? Probably, maybe not, but let's say.
So Maul is a 1, 2, 2, 3.
So he's going to hit the 2.
More often than not, he hits the 2.
So he does 4 damage.
Because if you roll in and you hit the 2, you're not re-rolling. Right. If you roll in and you hit the 1, you're considering based on what you have in your hand whether you're re-rolling.
There have been times when I've re-rolled that 2, but you're correct.
You've re-rolled the 2.
I'm trying to hit that 3, baby. Tilt. So I hit the 2, I do 4 damage. He rolls the 2, I do 2 more damage, total of 6. Let's say I have a 2 cost, let's say a +2 upgrade, so I do 8 damage, right? Great round 1. Mm-hmm. Fantastic round 1.
You're saying he rolls a 2 and a blank and some modifier. You hit for the modifier and then you re-roll your blank.
I do 8 damage. My opponent did nothing like to remove my dice that round because they love me playing Maul, right?
Good luck.
Hit me for 8, right?
You always lose a Maul die.
Correct.
Always.
So...
and that's the problem why he's worse than Vader.
So I like what you did, which is add the Executioner, because the Executioner it pops the lid off of his damage potential problem, right? Because you technically could kill someone with the Executioner die in play, or not in play, but the character in play.
Yeah, you have to resolve it with the Executioner, so the Executioner pops off and rolling back in. Yeah.
So I think it's a really good concept because you're taking the top of that damage potential problem off, and I think if there's ever a really competitive Maul deck that is good, like Vader good, I think it will be a deck that figures out how to increase that damage potential. So let me tell you about a little deck I did that is Maul and Watto, and everyone laughs at me every time I bring it up.
So I laughed until someone pointed out the Watto power action using Maul's die.
Correct.
It actually seems pretty good.
Yes. So I don't even care about Watto's dice. I only care about his power action for defense or for re-rolling a Maul dice. I'm running Retribution, which adds a increasing damage. But
I mean,
I'm running
points, yeah.
I'm running Entourage, and I'm running Pulse Cannon. Because I want other sources of damage that are not Maul.
Pulse Cannon. Oh,
which is the best. Wait,
Can we talk about this card?
Sure.
Pulse Cannon is the new Vader's Fist.
Yes. That.
It doesn't feel as bad as Vader's Fist, but it's pretty
whatever
bad.
production facility made the Pulse Cannon dice that came to the Pacific Northwest, something went wrong where all it does is roll
two or
three. It is like bonkers how many times I saw that thing go off. So well,
to be fair, you see that die rolled 3x more than any other die.
That is true.
On average,
yeah.
right?
So something's definitely wrong with the way they made those dice. But the reason why I like the yellow gives me some extra cool tools, right? I can run Desperate Measures.
Yeah, buddy. And then throw it into Watto.
Right, throw it into Watto. I can put Pulse Cannon. Actually, believe it or not, you know who can hold a Pulse Cannon? Maul. If they kill Watto. Or if they're going
Why would they kill Watto?
Because I dropped a bunch of damage from Desperate Measures on him.
Oh.
So it's never a dead... It's never a dead, card. Pulse Cannon is amazeballs. I can't even tell you.
Nope, that card is what's going to save Django eventually. Because Django's been underperforming my expectations significantly.
Me too. I was all about, Django's the new meta.
In fact, because he's underperforming, I'm not even going to do the Django thing.
You got to get back up to do Django. I've seen some interesting 3-wide Djangos that I want to try. Mud Trooper and Sentinel Messenger.
Oh, Mud Trooper. So I'm going to do a solo episode on Mud Trooper. It's coming. I heart Mud Trooper.
I don't. Yes, I can't wait to see it.
Don't steal my thunder.
Yeah, I'm gonna steal your thunder, but I also heart Mud Trooper, and I want to see what you have to say about it. So, anyway,
I almost heart Mud Trooper more than I heart Beckett.
Do you think, given our discussion about Maul, obviously, I think we can both say he's definitely not takeable. You can't take him to a tournament, a big tournament, like a prime or greater, right? Mm-hmm. Do you think there is a way with the current cards? Is there something that we haven't figured out in the current cards that could take him to that, or does he need another set or two?
Well, I mean, I don't know how to answer that because you answered, is there something we haven't figured out yet? So, probably, maybe, I don't know.
Is there something that I haven't figured out that you have? Let me change. So let me ask you that.
No, I don't think. No, I have nothing secret. I mean, Maul is worth. So I want to be very clear. I love Maul. I love design. I'm going to continue to play. You're going to see me play a bunch of Maul just because I like him. Right, he was the first character in the set where I was like, I want to play this guy, right? And then came Django, and I was like, oh, right. But yeah. Anyway, the problem with Maul is he plays like Vader, but there's no penalty for taking his dice. You can't get his dice back, right. And
that's a problem.
You basically have to assume that when you roll in Maul, now when you play him with red, there's some action cheating potential there because especially with lightsaber mastery, you can also do pushing slash. Okay. Which allows you to roll and resolve one of his character upgrade die.
Oh, okay.
But a lot of times that actually isn't great because you're playing him with modifiers, and you go, okay, great, and you know I play Legacies as well, which allows you to resolve modifiers if it's not.
Oh, okay.
So because all the time you get the Maul die removed, there's a 3 or a 4 sitting out there, and they're like, well, I'm just gonna leave it.
You're like, ha ha, boom.
Or Executioner can pair with it as well,
right.
But Executioner's dice are just so inconsistent.
I roll blank on that die pretty much all the time.
Yeah.
Or the 2-for-1 when I don't have the
2-for-1 is the worst. Pay sides are the worst thing in this game, right?
Good balancing mechanic.
And they're not, actually.
Right,
pay sides are
good.
Fantastic design in this game. They're just, God, it sucks to have a 2-for-1 on the table with no money.
Tier, that's the worst.
But, no, I mean, that's what it boils down to is Maul can't keep his dice in the pool. Right. And Vader, we've said before, Vader, you just automatically assume to only have 3 cards in his hand because he's going to play some card. He's going to have to discard a card for his action, and then you get maybe 2 rerolls and then a control option.
Yeah,
that's how you play Vader. That's it.
Vader's.
I just summed up every Vader deck.
Yeah, right? Vader's I negate one of your removal cards every round.
Right.
Basically, your removal card says reroll Vader die.
I mean, he basically plays a free stifle.
Right.
Every round.
It's. So he is truly a terror to behold. I play so much of this game, it is probably unhealthy, and I still sit down across from a Vader player and I start sweating. I'm like this.
No, but isn't that so great about it? When you sit down again, it's Darth freaking Vader. Right. You should see him coming down the hall with his saber and be like,
right. Oh!
all those guys are
yeah.
right? Like,
right.
I mean, I think it's fantastic. You guys all know, like, I've been very vocal how I feel about the Vader Greedo situation. I think that has kind of resolved itself because Friends and I played this gown.
Although Vader Greedo still, I think, is pretty good.
No, I just mean
I know
the first turn fist.
Right, correct.
The first turn fist for no effort is
for no effort. So true.
Like that's gone. I still hate Vader dropping Vader's fist. Like
and how good does it feel when you beat a Darth Vader deck? Like,
fantastic!
I feel like I beat a boss at a video
game.
Right. I mean, that's like
you just saved Princess Toadstool. Like.
Right. Yeah. No, it feels really, and I think that's ultimately what I want in this game. Every Vader game I play, it feels it's close. Like if I beat Vader, it's close. If they kill me, sometimes it's not always close. But it is feel. I think it does feel.
At the very least, you feel like you just escaped like an execution.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. So good design on the design team there.
But so just to close out on Maul, like I still think Maul's pretty good. Obviously, Fear and Dead Minning a 4 is like the Ewok killer, but like Maul does pretty well against Ewoks.
Right.
Maul does 3 wides really well. I think Maul does 3 wides better than 2 wides because the problem with Maul is the way his power action reads is you have to resolve it into 2 characters. So if you power action when they only have 1 character left, you'd have to put it somewhere. So obviously you just wouldn't power action. In that case.
So his modifiers, which are really good against like if you're playing Fifth Brother's lightsaber,
right?
That modifier is not a modifier when you're power actioning.
Correct.
But when they have 1 character and you have 1 character,
you have to modify it.
Right. So you have to hit yourself,
or you have to have something to modify. Sorry.
Right. Or hit yourself.
Right. And there was a case this last week. I don't think it was on camera, but I actually put it into somebody and the executioner, and you would ask why to do that, and it's because it was a blank, and I power action to reroll it, right? Because I wanted to put him down. But that's why I think he does better against 3 wides or multi targets. There's probably a local maximum where. You know, the 4 costs or the 4 side Fear and Dead Men to just wipe Ewoks off the table is it. But I don't know. I don't think Maul's fun. He's fine. He's good design. Actually, really good design.
Right. I just think I think coming out 2 sets after Vader is his problem. The problem with Maul is he came out 2 sets after Vader.
Yeah. No, I mean Maul is not as good as Vader. Like I don't think there's an argument there. Maul actually does okay against Vader.
I'd like to see that.
Well, because you can put, like, his 2 becomes a 2, and you also take the droid.
Oh, okay. Okay, right. You're playing the Retribution Battle Droid version, right?
Well, even if it's the FOSS, you're only doing it once.
Yeah, either way, you're getting
right, because that's what they're always piling damage into the FOSS, right? And, like, I mean, if you have a Maul 2 out there, and you power action in a Maul 2, I mean, yeah, you have to reroll, but, like, doing them all too, it's now 2 to each. Sure. I mean, it's not.
You got to kill both of them to win the game.
Because they're best defensing and stuff anyway. And if you can take an extra best defense offline, right?
Sounds good.
So anyway,
all right, let's probably wrap this up.
Covered Maul, covered Vader. Yep, my list is all crossed off. So
good.
What do you got going on?
So I'm hoping to make Gongon Saturday. Because I'm out of town next week in the middle of the week, which is cool. Going to the beach.
Did you go to the beach last weekend?
I did not. I went to the zoo.
Oh.
And it was hot.
Did you see the new pregnant elephant? That was all the news today.
I didn't see that. Maybe. I can't tell the difference between an elephant. I mean, you don't ask an elephant if they're pregnant because that's just bad form. So they all kind of look fat. Well, like, hey, you're pregnant? No, I'm fat. I'm an elephant.
It was like all the news today. So that's all we have to talk about in Portland.
That's pretty funny.
It's like, there's some homeless people and elephants.
And Antifa. There you go. Yeah.
And Antifa.
Anyway, I'm hoping to make it on Saturday, and then Monday, then I'll be gone for a couple days, and I'm hoping for some fun games. Man, I saw some really inventive decks this week from my players. Like,
this was a really
amazed.
Really, I saw a lot of decks. Braven's Yoda Admiral deck. I want to give a shout out to Braven. Like that deck,
so good.
The poor guy, like he gets so frustrated when he loses, and like, but so elated when he wins. So like, this may be the perfect deck for him because when he loses, like it's just it's
over in like 6 minutes, right? Yeah.
And when he wins, it's like. Roll him in. I just did 43 damage.
Yeah, dude, that is a fun. That is a fun deck, and I agree. Like, and he's playing it. He's playing it really well, and
that's his baby too. So
yeah,
props to him.
Steve too, man, figuring out a way to make like little hero vehicles, like pounding people's face with X-wings and crate speeders.
I think that was 2 weeks ago.
Why? I'm pretty excited about it though, because Nathaniel and I have been talking about like what's going to be our Haldo deck, because we're both huge Haldo fans. So I have to make a deck with her.
Next week, Mike's coming with pink hair.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, so yeah, I'm really excited. I know we've been a little negative on the game this week, but our group though is made up of some really excellent people who are really trying to play around and enjoy each other's company. So there's been a lot of good decks. And maybe that's part of the problem when someone brings like a deck that's particularly nasty. It feels double worse against our group just because everyone's really trying to have a good time.
That's fair. That's fair.
So, anyway.
Yeah. I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, I think you pretty much summed it up. We got Gongai. Pretty much our standard Gongai Monday Night Dice. And, yeah, that's it. So I don't really have anything else going on this week. So if nothing else, go Commando.
Go Commando.